Morning. Today, getting ready, brushing up some artwork. We're going to be doing a recording of how to build a set of overlays. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, actually. Simple ways to make some overlays where you don't have to spend anything. So it's going to be a bit basic, but it should be an easy way for everyone to start getting their feet under the table or something along those lines. Looking forward to it. I've got to sort all this out first, so I'm going to jump in the shower, make myself look pretty, and I'll see you in the upload. Oh, a million times better. Hello everyone, welcome to the next stream of files. Today we're going to be looking at how to make some overlays. So it's been a highly requested feature, this. I've made countless amount of overlays for different platforms over the years and help content creators make theirs as well. So today we're going to look at functional overlays, what you'd need, industry standards. So this is some of the scenes that you're going to need, but we'll explain all of that once we get into it, and some tips and tricks that I've used over the years to hopefully make it easier for you to customize it and make it your own. Any software we're going to be using today, links will be down in the description and are free. So that's the main thing. A little disclaimer, you may find alternative software that you'd like to use. Today we're going to be recording the tutorial showing you OBS Studio, but the principle pretty much stays the same. The only other software that you'd really need is image editing software. Now, personally, I use Sketchbook. Don't believe that's free anymore, but the amount of graphics you're going to need to do on it is minimal. So something where you can make a gradient is all you really need. I believe Paint does it as well, but today we'll be showing you how to make that and what to do in Sketchbook and how you can implement that going forward. There are going to be some more advanced classes on this. We're going to be looking at branding coming up at some point and how to make sure your branding is represented and consistent, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So that being said, we're all comfortable. Let's get on with it. One of the things I'd suggest first of all is you need to head over to, as I said, link down in the description, and get yourself OBS Studio. So once you're there, you should be met with a screen that looks something like this. So go ahead and choose your appropriate software to download and where you're going to be getting that, Windows, Mac OS or Linux. For those that use Linux, I cannot help you on that because I don't have a lot of experience in Linux. Right, so while you have that downloading, one of the first things that I suggest for you to do is create a folder. Now here we're just calling it test folder. So tip to make it easier for your PC to run your stream is you want to keep everything within the same folder. It saves on your CPU and your RAM while streaming if any asset you need in the future is there. So have we've called it test overlay. The one I personally use is called stream assets. So I know that everything that I use for that set of overlays is in one place. Right, once you've got it downloaded, you should be met with a screen, something that looks a little bit like this. It's been a while I've had this installed. Actually, it's what I use for streaming and content creation. But you should be met with a screen like this. Now, we're not going to go too deep into some of the settings. Some of the ones that I will go over with you is, if you look at your stream, make sure you have everything connected. So you have your Twitch or your YouTube account connected to there. One of the other suggestions that I do give is, if you are finding that whilst you're streaming, you've got an issue with the latency of it, or some people being able to watch it, have a look at your bit rate here. Now, not always with the setup wizard will it say, it might give you a really crazy number. Mine, I believe, goes up to 5,000. I run mine at 3,500, and it's perfectly fine and stable. So that is the one place. So in output, you'll see it automatically selected there as streaming. Have a look at your bit rate for its compression. Aside from that, everything else should be able to be achieved in the setup wizard. So with that all being said, right, we're done on that. You're looking at this screen now. Over here, you've got I've got mine tabbed, so that's why yours might look somewhat different. So you can see my sources here and my scene transitions over in the bottom corner here. These tabs can be removed and placed elsewhere. So if I grab this one here, for example, I can move this and have them there. It's completely customizable. So if it looks different, don't panic. Just means you have a different layout than what you can currently see here on the stream. We're looking here initially. So your scenes is the overall picture. Your sources are the things in that scene, if that makes sense. Your audio mixer, we'll get into in a moment. This is what you'll need to look at to start off with. So down here, and if you're on other software, you'll still see a plus button as well. You want to add a new scene. Now, we'll start as we mean to go on. So start with a starting soon screen. We need a live screen. So this is for your content whilst you are live. You need a be right back screen for if you need to go to the toilet. We'll just call our one BRB for be right back. And I like to add an ending screen and an outro screen. Right, so the difference between those, outro, there we go. So that's kind of the life cycle of your stream as you'll go through it. Ignore the top one, scenes, in fact, we'll actually take that one out. There we go, remove it, perfect. So your stream will start, you will be live, you need to pop for a bathroom break, you're fine, pop for a bathroom break, you go back to being live. Right, these are your minimums. If you want, you can add another just chatting and intermission screen there. So if we just call this one just chatting, that will give us when gameplay, if you're doing gameplay or something that is slow and you want to focus talking to your chat, that will give you that option. So just when you're chatting, you're loading in a game, this gives you that downtime and you can add some more customization into that as well. But moving further down, we have the ending. So this is where you say goodbye to the stream. Thank everyone. However you like to do your outro. You can move on to the actual outro screen, which will, from my suggestion, not have your camera on there. And it's whilst you're raiding out, giving that last part of the call to actions. But we'll look at that when we get to it. So, moving on to the starting soon. So starting soon, and this is going to be the first situation where having use of a separate bit of software, like we said at the beginning, to make very simple graphics will help you out in the long run. So if we just quickly jump over to Sketchbook, use your appropriate software if you like, and we have a screen here, right? I know it's very bright, it's bright for me too. Here you want to get your image to the size of a screen, right? So these are some notes, we'll have them in the description as well, but you'd want your canvas size at 1920 by 1080. Oh, 1080. Perfect. That will give you your screen size. If you forget those numbers, as I said, they're in the description. You're good to go. If you have two favorite colors, let's say orange and purple. I quite like orange, and a lot of people are going to be using this stuff on Twitch, so why not orange and purple? So we grab our first orange here, and you grab something that will give you a fill, and you want that sort of fill up there. So the one that will give you a gradient across. So if we pull a gradient across from there to there, all right, for those that use in Sketchbook, this is how this is done. We'll grab that color, we'll put orange in that corner, and let's put a purple in that corner. Right, that one needs a mid-tone. There we go. Right, as simple as that. So if you can create that image, however you like it, whatever colors you want, they're completely up to you. If you can create that image, this will be the basis of making the overlays yours, right? To make it your own personal sort of branding. You can do anything. If you want to go, do more art on there, different colors, shapes, that's completely up to you, but we're looking at how to do it on a basic level to start off with. So now that we have this is going to be the basis of our stream overlays. We want to save a version of this. So if you save it as a PNG, we've already gone ahead and we've made our test folder. So let's get that saved in here. And we're going to call it our background test, and make sure you save it as a PNG file, and we're all good. Right, now we can leave that, tuck that away to the side, and get back to OBS. So here, we're on our starting soon screen. Down here, you have your little plus button, so we want to start adding our first element in. Okay, it's going to ask us for an image path, which will be desktop, test overlays, open, and there we go. Right, so we import that in, we're quite happy. Okay, and that is starting the basis of our background. Now, you'll see that there's a red box around there. So here's tip number 2. If you hold down on OBS and on Streamlabs, if you hold down your Alt key, you can actually crop the size of this image. If you hold down your Shift key, you can change the proportions of this image. See, we're squashing the image to the side. That will come in handy at a later date. So just something to keep in the back of the noodle, right? Now we've got our background on our starting soon screen, but we're going to need some text. Simply enough done. You go down here and you want to add a text GTI. We'll call it starting soon, TX for text. And add. So some advanced things on here is if you have your files already, and we'll go into this when we start doing more advanced overlay tutorials. If you have your font, you should be able to select it here. I would suggest looking at a font at a later date. It just gives you more brand consistency. But for now, we're just going to select one, Distant Galaxy. Okay, we're quite happy with that, and we're going to do starting soon. Perfect. So you do have a few more options in here should you want to use them. So you can outline it here, for example, change the color of the outline to something, let's say black. You've got a preview here. You can see it up there as well. Another tip for any text that you are adding in, always take it to the highest possible size and then bring it down. If you go in with very small text and you try and enlarge it, it's not going to look very good. I'll show you an example of that now. So if I took the file size down to, let's say 6, the font size down to 6, right, there we go. Right, you can see how blurry that is, and if I try to use that, I can't. It looks horrendous. If I take the font size up to as high as we can go, the clarity of it is a million times better. So if we'll go through this, we didn't want an outline, background color, we didn't want one. Okay, and we'll go with this. Right. So now this is humongous, right? So this is where we take this size and we scroll it. Oh, Control Z will be your go-to. Should you get anything wrong, you'll be able to undo it with your Control Z. And there we go. You can see that the quality of the actual text is so much better. Now, another tip that you'll find is here you have a little padlock. This will just lock that back layer into place. So we can't select it now. No matter what we do, we know it's where it needs to be. So go into a little bit more editing of the text. This is going to, again, be one of those tips that will help you out on the long run. So we've got it to the correct size. We're quite happy with it. Should we want to put a gradient in there, just to give it a little bit more character, we can do. So let's grab a gradient here, select the color. Let's try the colors we've already used. So if we put a purple and let's say another orange, let's go with a darker orange. You see that we've started getting a gradient on our text message. Let's move on our text there. So let's move that out of the way, starting soon. Looks really good. Quite pleased with it. Right, so we've got that starting soon. We're all happy with how all of that looks. There's your first screen, right? So you would get your name in there as well. So if we put in another file, we'll use the name test overlay. Name, text. Perfect. We want the same font that we used earlier. Keep that brand consistency on the go. We call it Test TV. There we go. Right, now, if you already had a logo, this is where I would suggest to put that in, just to give you a bit more. A nice idea would be if you add another, so this is just giving you a little bit more customization. If we add another image in, so if we go, let's call it BG for background, blur. Okay, we like that. We're going to look for an image file. Let's use the same one. Perfect. We like you. Right. Now, you'll see that how this is stacked here. This works out as a set of layers. If you imagine it's a sheet on top of a sheet of paper, that's the best way to look at the layers. So anything that is at the top is what you're going to see first, and anything that's transparent, you'll see through all of those, all the way down to the background. Hence, it's the back. Now, this blur we want in front of the background, but behind the text. You notice it's completely free-formed because we've got it on the red box around it. Now, I'd use my Alt key to take that into about there, and then we'll crop that one down to about there. Right? Now here, if you right click on this, you can create a filter on that piece alone. So if we grab a filter here, so we've added a filter, you see visual effects. If you push the plus key, it will take you into color corrections, color keys. There's a lot in here and there's a lot to get embroiled in, but at the moment we're just looking at color correction. So we're going to a color correction to add a filter upon here. And here, where is the same image, you can start changing some of it. So if we move the hue shift, for example, you can start seeing what it would do in the background. You with me so far? Right, we want to change the brightness, change the contrast slightly, change the gamma probably up slightly. If we OK and we click off there, we're starting to get a distinction bar across the middle. Hopefully all of that makes sense. Now, I think this is a little bit too high. So if you hold onto your control key, you can select all of those, and now selected all of them in one go. You can move the whole layer down a little bit. There you go. Now it's really started to show a distinction behind them. That all makes sense? Right. Then the next one, if you add in here a color source, so if we call it BG lines, add, all right, and we'll select a color and we want a really, really dark purple. So we'll jump onto the purple here and we'll just take the slider down. Perfect. Right. Now, moving this behind the background blur, but in front of the background, we're going to use that Alt key again in order to crop, and you can take this down to just about the lines either side. There we go, one there and one down there. Looking good so far. Right, that name and text still looks slightly large, too high for me, so I'm going to take that down and we put that there. Right, now we're already started to make it look like a thing. We can go in onto the lines, add another filter here, and what I would do is grab the color correction again. Let's say OK, but this time we're only looking at the opacity or the transparency of the lines themselves, because they are a little bit bold in my my suggestion. So if we take that opacity down a bit, we only want a hint of those lines, just as much as we do about the hint of the blur at the same time. So we OK, Now we come off. Now that is starting to look a lot more professional. I know it's a lot of information to take on, so we're going to hold off there today for part one. We've got our assets folder ready to receive any further files that we need to make. We've got OBS downloaded and our first set of scenes done, and we've got the starting screen done as well. So a lot of work done, a lot to take in. So return for episode 2, where we'll be looking at the live screen and some of the transitions and taking it from there. Hopefully you found all of this useful, and if you have and I've earned your like, then the button's down there for you to use. Make sure you're subscribed with a notification bell to return for episode 2, where we'll be looking at those. If you have any questions, the comment section's open for all. If you don't see me down there, you can always get me in the Dirty Misfits Discord, a place where not just myself, but a lot of other content creators are there to help all of you on your journey into the world of content creation. All that's left for me to say is, again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next upload. Take it easy.